All right, so in today's Desert Pencil webinar, what we covered was negotiating. And we did it a specific way, and this webinar video is laid out a specific way as well. So what I did was I took the opening exercise from a course that I've been doing for a long time called Real Negotiation. And the opening exercise is called the Conundrum Negotiation. So what I do is go through and I set it up and explain everything. And then the group picks one person to negotiate with me, and we go through the negotiation. And it's always fun to see these people prepare because a lot of times the same things come up, and that's fine. But we do after that, the second part of this is we go back into the negotiation and I'm able to pull different pieces and parts out of what happened to demonstrate different points of view, modalities, and tactics that could have been used to be more effective in the negotiation. So it's really a cool way to see this. You get to see it, then we go back and go, we would have changed this, that, and the other thing, and people immediately see how the outcome would have changed had they done that. So this is a training exercise. It's executive level. It's really designed to deliver high impact learning in a short amount of time. So that's what you're going to see today. The way this is edited is you're going to see the opening where I'm explaining the conundrum negotiation. I'll show you some of the actual negotiating between me and our volunteer, Chris. Then the rest of it's going to be individual pieces of the actual webinar that were re-edited to stand alone, but they're all strung together. So they're going to be branded individually. But I think these were the best things we talked about to really maximize the learning for you to help sharpen your negotiation skills, okay? So the Desert Pencil webinar, if you don't know about it, which is where this came from, happens every Friday morning at 9 o'clock Pacific. Anybody can come. And this is a 1-hour session where a group of us, mostly real estate people, we talk about real estate deals, we talk about negotiation, we talk about the world at large, we talk about monetary policy, all things that affect real estate and investing. So the backdrop of this really is increasing your income and your wealth. That's really the driver of all the topics, the guests we have, and things we talk about. So if that's of interest to you, please do join us. And if you can't, you can always watch these on YouTube, or you can download the audio podcast at desertpencil.com. Hope to see you Friday. Let's talk about negotiation. All right. And I want to do this, as I said in the email, as an exercise. And I wasn't sure how many people were going to show up today. And I want to make sure you have enough time to do this. So I think what I'm going to do is, with this many people, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I could do 2 groups, but I'm going to do 1. So you guys are going to be 1 group, okay? And that'll give us enough time to go through the exercise, to unpack it, and then to do some other stuff, and that'll bring us right to about our hour. So I'm going to give you some instructions first, and then I'm going to tell you what the exercise is, okay? So you can, as always I say, bring pen and paper, write down a couple notes if you want to, okay? So I'm going to start at the end here when the exercise starts. So when the exercise starts, in your work together as a group, which will come before the exercise starts, one of the things that you will have done is nominated one person to be your negotiator. Because what's going to happen after you guys do your caucus is we're going to have this negotiation, and I am going to negotiate with your negotiator, okay? So one of your exercises, one of the things you have to do in your group is you have to nominate one person to be the negotiator, okay? The second thing, while you're in your group caucusing, is that 50% of the learning that comes from this exercise is how you participate in the discussion prior to the negotiation. Now, I've been doing this a long time. I've seen a lot of groups, live, Zoom, whatever. And it's some people's natural tendency just to be the wallflower and sit in the corner. And look, this is a volunteer organization. Nobody's going to make you do anything. I'm just saying that if you jump in and give your 2 bits worth, 4 bits worth, whatever you have, that's going to help you and it's going to help the group. Okay. All right. The last thing I'm going to say about this negotiation is this. It's going to be time limited. It's not going to go on for a super long time. So when it starts, I want your negotiator to feel like they're prepared and ready to go. I'm going to allow at any time during the negotiation, the negotiator to call on help from people in your group, okay? But what I don't want to have happen, because sometimes this does happen, not always, but sometimes, is that people just want to butt in and go, oh, well, I can do this. Oh, I can do that. I'd rather that didn't go on, okay? If the negotiator feels like the negotiator needs help, the negotiator will look to their team and say, hey, can you guys help me out on this? Okay. Again, it's not a big problem, but it's kind of annoying when it happens. All right. So that's kind of the rules of the thing. We'll hit those again before we start. So the easiest way for me to lay out this exercise is just to open a Word document. And again, you can make notes as necessary. Okay. So in this negotiation, there's going to be 3 people. I get Word to work. 3, there we go, people. Okay, so let's do this. Let's start out with the seller. Okay, so the seller, and this is important, must sell. Okay, the seller must sell. The seller is relocating. And we'll come back to the seller. Okay, then we'll go to the buyer. The buyer must buy. Okay, so the buyer's legit, got their financing, there's all that kind of stuff. Okay, the buyer has to buy something. The buyer wants to buy this house. The buyer brings an offer and says, this is my first, my last, and my only offer. All right. Now I'm just going to go back to the seller real quick. I'm just going to use a simple number to keep this simple. The asking price on the house, which was arrived at through CMA by the listing agent and the seller, is $500,000. Okay. The buyer is offering $470,000. I know. Thank you, Kelly. Okay, now let's come to the broker. The broker has an exclusive listing. They're on day 179 of 180 of the exclusive right to sell time period when this offer comes in. And the brokers had no deals in 6 months. Okay. So that's the basic setup for this exercise. So I'll give you just a second to make additional notes as you might need. So you have all that written down.
Has there been any price improvements on this property to get to 500?
I'm going to just let you guys...
For 6 months at 500?
You know, what happens in this exercise is that sometimes people try to bring stuff in that wasn't a part of the setup. And I'll offer a little bit of latitude, and I'll use my discretion when, if, and as that happens. But I want to keep this pretty simple. Okay, I don't want a whole bunch of superfluous stuff, because in the end, that stuff doesn't really matter. Okay? All right. So, are there any other questions about this negotiation?
Do we know why the seller has to sell?
Relocating.
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 What's the commission? What's the broker commission?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. I've spaced. Duh. That's kind of important in a room full of brokers. 6% commission.
on the gross.
Which states is Oregon or Washington? So the excise tax involved.
Well, in a fantasy world, we're not going to worry about that.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any questions? Okay.
Yeah, I had one.
Yeah, please.
When you, is FLO offers, would you say first, last?
Only. Yeah. So the buyer comes up and says, I'm offering 470 and this is it.
So
Pardon me?
does that mean he's never coming up off of 470?
Well, it means what I said. He is a buyer and he said, here's my offer. This is it.
So that's what he's represented. That's all we know is what he's represented. This is his.
Yes.
And what does FLO mean again?
First, last, only.
Do we know why he offered that number? Is that a monthly payment he needs to stick to that has a cap on?
Doesn't matter.
How is he financing?
So like I said, these questions always come up, and the best I can offer you for now is it doesn't matter. We'll just say he's approved. It's not there's no, I mean, it might have a financing contingency in a place called the real world, but don't worry about that. He's got the money. It's cool.
And we're representing seller here?
Correct. And if you want to have some kind of a discussion about the other agent, I mean, that's fine. I can have that discussion. But you'll see at the end, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so to review, you've got all the notes about what this is. I'm going to walk away for 10 minutes. Okay, you're going to have 10 minutes to prepare for this. We'll say until 9:30 Pacific time, which should be, 10:30 if you're in a different time zone or wherever you are. But you have about 11, 12 minutes to prepare for this. Talk about it as a group. Nominate one person to be your negotiator. When I come back, we will begin the negotiation, which usually lasts about 3 minutes. Okay, either way, it's not a super long negotiation. I like to keep it fairly short and concise so that we can unpack it, because that's where the learning about this kind of thing really lives. Okay, and I want to be fair about this. I'm going to give you a little bit of warning. My role as a negotiator is not to be nice. Okay, I'll leave you with that, and I will see you in 10 minutes. Good.
Joe, real quick.
Yeah.
You're the seller or the buyer?
I'm the seller, and you represent the buyer. Oh, no, excuse me. My bad. You represent me. You are my listing agent. I am the seller. Okay? And as I said, if you want to say, oh, well, there's a buyer's agent, I don't care. Whatever. We can handle it. It's not germane to this, but if you need to say that, I don't care. Okay, 10 minutes. Go.
I'm confused. So we're negotiating with our client?
No, you're negotiating with me.
I get that.
Okay, let me give you a little hint about what's coming so it's not a big bomb. Okay, we'll just do it this way.
You're our client.
Correct. Okay, so here's the twist. And I'm going to tell you now, it's going to wait, but I'm going to tell you now. I'm going to accept the offer, but I'm not going to pay you. You laugh now. You'll be crying in 10 minutes, I'm telling you. That's a joke, America. Don't worry about it. But I was going to wait and do that when we came back, but I just told you that's what we're doing. So you are actually negotiating for your commission. Okay?
Okay, you said 6%.
I did.
3 side.
Okay, let's go back to my super awesome Word document real quick here. See the math? 500,000 is 30,000, 6%, 470. See how that works?
Yep.
Okay.
It's a 6%, 3 on each side, because now it's all split.
If you want to have another agent involved, again, I don't care. It doesn't matter.
So you're saying 6% goes to only this listing?
I'm saying that the listing says 6% gross.
But it's different now.
The contracts are different.
Okay. Again, I'm saying it's my exercise, my party.
I'm just trying to be clear.
No, I understand that. And I don't want to make, see, there's people here from different parts of the country, which is why I don't want to make this state specific. I need to make it more generic. Okay. I, the seller, signed exclusive listing and said, when, if, and as you sell the property, I'll pay a 6% gross commission of the sales price. And if you remember, I said in the setup, the $500,000 was derived because I sat down with you, my exclusive right to sell listing agent, and you advised me the property was worth $500,000. And that was 179 days ago.
We're the one with our back to the wall of the 179.
Oh, look, the smart guy. He's figuring it out. Yay. Okay. That is the end of my full disclosure, people. You have 10 minutes. Good luck. Okay. So ready? Let's start. All right, Chris. So thank you.
That I want to present to you.
Yeah, I heard about that and I've read it over. And I just want to start by saying I'm going to take the offer, but as you're probably aware, there's not enough money to pay you, which is unfortunate. But I want to hear what you have to say, and I'm willing to give you a couple minutes, so go ahead.
Well, regarding paying me, you're not paying me. You're paying my brokerage, and my brokerage pays me. We have a contract for 6% of gross on the sale. Which I'm willing to be flexible on because I'm representing buyer as well. Can I throw that in there? Hello?
I don't, you represent the buyer, represent me. That's, I thought you checked the box that says you were just representing me, but that's okay because it's really a math problem, Chris.
Buyer's unrepresented.
Okay. Well, either way, it's a math problem. Okay, there's just not enough money to pay you.
Well, I've done, 6 months of work, countless hours of open house, marketing expenses, other preparation expenses associated with the listing. I think it's fair to get paid, don't you, Joe?
Well, I don't think this is about fairness. I mean, if you would have sold it in a day for $500,000, you would have cut a fat hog. But you're not in the fair business. You're in the sales business. You're in the performance business. And in this situation, you didn't perform, and so there's not enough money to pay you.
Well, the market did support your purchase or your list price, Joe. Otherwise, it might have sold more for free.
Well, I acted in reliance upon the representations that you made as my real estate professional 6 months ago, and you said 500 is the number, and I said, okay. And I need 470. That's why 6% worked for me. 6 months later, I'm getting 470.
How soon do you need to move, Joe?
I'm ready to go.
Oh, you don't need to go.
I'm moving.
Do you have another place already?
I do.
And when's the moving truck coming?
Day after escrow.
Really? The one escrow is already. So what would happen if you didn't sell your property?
Well, that's between me and the buyer. He's got the money. He wants to buy it. I'm going to sell it to him. I signed the contract. That's all I can control right now.
You signed a contract with me as well, Joe.
I did, but you didn't perform, so.
There's nothing in the contract that says your list price is guaranteed.
So you brought up the doctrine of fairness, right? Just a minute ago. So let me ask you a question. If it's fair, it should work both ways, right? So why is it fair for you to get paid and me not to get what you promised me? I don't think that's fair at all. You told me the property is $500,000. You said 6%. That's 470. Okay. I hired you because you are the real estate professional, because you are supposed to know what you're doing. Okay. I'm the consumer. You are the licensee. Well, I found a buyer. You found a buyer.
Range of value, and you picked your list price, Joe, and I said I would support that to the best of my ability.
Incorrect. At the beginning of the setup of this problem, I said, you advised me the property is worth $500,000. So you can't go back and do change backs later.
Well, I don't work that way, so. Well, the market's deteriorated over this period of time, and I feel very fortunate that we have an offer at 470. You should as well.
I do.
So you think what are you suggesting? You take this this offer after contract expiration tomorrow and don't pay compensation?
I'm not suggesting anything. I am the seller, and I'm telling you, I'm going to accept this offer. It does not have enough money in it to pay your commission. That is what I'm saying.
Well, my brokerage will defend that.
Your brokerage, whatever you want. It's my house. I'm selling it.
You can't pick my pocket. You're under contract with me. I'm in the preferred cause.
There's no pocket picking here. Look, dude, this is simple. Okay. And look, let me say this before I have to wrap this up. I like you, and I think you've done a good job. I don't question your marketing, your abilities, whatever. I mean, I think you're a competent person at your profession. Okay. But that's not the problem. The problem is the money. Okay. And you didn't bring enough money for me to be able to pay you what you said you wanted. Okay. Now we can go back and change words and ideas, and we can threaten each other, whatever. Okay. 6 months ago, you said your house is worth $500,000. I charge 6%. Simple math. Okay. 470. I'm in. 6 months later, you brought no offers. We have this one, and it nets me what I need, and I need to move, and I'm going to take it. So whatever you do is up to you. I mean, I'm not here to control you, but I don't want to mince my words. I want to be very clear with you. I'm not dissatisfied with my service. You just didn't perform, man. Sometimes that happens in life. I'm sure you've had this happen before. It's the nature of the industry that you're in. So you dust yourself off, you put on your big boy pants, you move on, and you get back in the game, right?
So outside of the role play, I don't know how you would accept that offer without.
Okay, hold on a second. Are we done? Is this your final word?
I don't know how to respond to that.
Okay, then we'll stop. Okay. Let's just stop there for a second. The next thing I'd like you to do is I'll give Chris a little round of applause for being brave. Yeah, you did. Raise your hand if at any time during what you saw happen, you were uncomfortable, upset, a little pissed. Right. Okay. Here's the first note I want you to make. Okay. And please write this down. Negotiation does not always feel good. It doesn't. And I've never in my whole life, I've taken a fair number of negotiation courses, including graduate level courses. Nobody's ever said that. When you're negotiating and you're really into it and it matters, feelings, and they are a big deal. Please write this down. If you've been to my sermon before, you've heard me say this, here it comes again. People decide emotionally and they justify it rationally. This is how humans make decisions. So if you're trying to change someone's mind, what you need to do is to be very observant about the state that they are in. We'll get to my state in just a minute. Okay, but that's a really key point. We forget about the role that emotion plays. Because negotiation, as much as I love spreadsheets, you don't negotiate with a spreadsheet. You don't negotiate with an HP 10B2. You negotiate with another person. And people have feelings, and that's how they decide. There is a huge difference between negotiating on behalf of someone else and for yourself. Did you notice, and I'm not picking on Chris because this happens all the time, what you cared about most, Chris, was your money, not my money. You couldn't have cared less about what I was getting as the client. And attorneys might argue that under statute, that's your first duty. But when the conversation turns to what's going to happen to you, suddenly it's all different. Okay. So I want to just press pause on that moment because all of us illustrate as agents for clients, but it's a whole different deal when it's you and it's your money. But what happens a lot of times is especially real estate people that run to the contract. Oh, we're going to sue you. And Chris, you kind of alluded to that as well. I've been in lawsuits for commissions, okay, twice. I mean, not all the time. And fortunately, I won both times. The bigger one, and this was in the 90s, you can time adjust for the value of money. But I had to sue one client for one commission for $175,000. And I won. And I represented myself pro se in Superior Court. And I won. And I went and transcribed my judgment to all their properties. My attorney kind of coached me in the background with all the paperwork stuff. Okay, just full disclosure. But I was my own attorney. I did the trial. And I did what I was supposed to do. 2 months after I transcribed the judgments, I started a wage garnishment against these two people and their wives. And on the Friday, I was supposed to get my first payment at like 2:00 in the afternoon. That wasn't an accident. I get a certified letter from their bankruptcy attorney that says I have to stay. Okay. Now I'll take the next 8 months of my life and condense it to a small paragraph. I went to bankruptcy court, be all full of bluster and bullshit at age 31 probably. And I'm in front of a bankruptcy judge, which was one of the most amazing experiences of my whole life. And, I got my butt kicked by opposing counsel as well I should have. But at the end of the story, the trustee discharged the bankruptcy and I got $1,700 of the $175,000 that I was owed, and I didn't have to pay attorney's fees, and that's all I got. Okay? Now I don't think that's a common story, but it's not an uncommon story. So my counsel to you is this. It's easy to go, oh, justice, I'm going to sue you. But if you've never done it, let me promise you this, as a client in America, it's not fast, it's not cheap. I'm going to just kind of time out here. And I want to offer you a change in point of view. Okay? So this is all paradigm stuff, how you see something, all right? So my first point in the changing of mind is this. It is a higher road in human relations and negotiations to be able to set aside your agenda and to exercise empathy for your counterpart. Okay, so what is that all about? In the application of this exercise that we just did, I would argue that a better approach is to begin by setting aside your commission concern, which again, Chris, everybody has. I'm not picking on you. Okay, this is a class we're learning. And instead, close your book, whatever it is, sit back, take a breath, and say something like this. Okay, Joe, I get the math. I understand where you're coming from. I do. Okay. I'm wondering if you could just kind of tell me why. Okay. So that posture is going from defensive to defenseless. Okay. That is a context shift. It's a shift in your paradigm. And again, I say, I believe it is the higher road, and that's not an easy road to take. The second thing I'm going to invite you to consider is a negotiation tactic, okay, which to me is probably like the best tactic ever. And I've studied a lot of tactics. It's 2 words. Please write these down. The words are higher authority. Okay. Now, this is very counterintuitive in the American culture, because in the American culture, we're all about control. I'm in charge, my decision, the buck stops with me. We're trained that way. We're acclimated that way. We're socialized that way. Okay. Again, I'm offering you a different point of view. The point of view I'm offering is I don't make decisions. Okay. So if I take that thought and I apply it to that conversation, here's how I would have handled it differently, because that question came up, now I'm answering it. I would have done something like this. And I'm just going to turn this around, and I'll be Chris. So Chris, you could be me. And I say something like this. Chris, I understand where you're coming from. I do. I understand the math. And you know what? Hey, man, if I was you, I might feel the same way. Okay. That's step one. Okay. It's validation of feeling. It's not doing this. It's saying, I understand, but it's also not agreeing. Okay. And that's the magic of empathy. You don't have to agree. You just have to understand. It's like Stephen Covey wrote, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Seek first to understand and then to be understood. When you get to the end of that presentation, what do?
Offer to help.
Mm-mm.
No. Oh, just let time pass.
Sorta. You shut up.
How do you want to handle that?
I don't even say
I
that.
was going to say, shut up.
I don't even say that.
It's like a closing statement.
Exactly.
Leave it, shut up.
Exactly. When I make my presentation, I'm just zip. Did you notice, Chris, and this wasn't an accident, when you and I were talking, I kept my statements very short and very crisp, but I didn't say anything. There was a pause. It was about 15, 20 seconds. And when it gets uncomfortable, I always wait to see who's going to go first. And you know what? You did. Doesn't mean you lost, but it's the creation of tension. Okay? And I'm just going to kind of finish my thought here today by going back to one of my opening thoughts. Do not forget the role of emotion in human decision making. And people do more to avoid pain than they do to seek pleasure. Okay? Tension is a good thing, crafted and delivered in proper ways. But if I want someone to change their mind, and I've learned this, and now I'm teaching you, get them to feel uncomfortable about their current position. Get them to doubt themselves. With respect to the attorney in the house today, there's a reason that we have adopted a phrase in our society called settling on the courthouse steps. Why? Because that's when the most pressure is on before you go into trial, because trial is an unknown. Right, Roger? I mean, you don't know as an attorney on either side how that's going to happen. That's why attorneys advocate settlement, and I think courts do too, instead of going for the full-blown deal. Okay? And on the legal thing, I can't leave without saying this. And I offer this as advice to anybody who might find themselves in a situation in the future, and some of us will. Don't forget this as a client. If you get into those negotiations, often you're not negotiating the principle or the justice or, the fairness. You're negotiating against attorney's fees. Sorry, it's just true. I've done it too many times, and I've seen it too many times. So remember that as well. Okay.
Hey, Joe.
Please.
For you and everybody else, would you actually like the inside secret on negotiating
Please.
house step? Here's the deal. And it's usually just if you think your normal lawsuit case, you have a plaintiff and a defense counsel. So what I'm really talking about is defense counsel. That's where the screws get turned on, but only get turned on that point.
Before you move forward, Roger, I want to make sure we understand. So the plaintiff is the one that filed the lawsuit. They're like the offense, and the defendant is the one who was sued. They're like the defense. Go ahead.
Right. So what we're usually talking about is like a corporate attorney or attorney, usually on the defense side, insurance defense or whatever. We're talking about the quote for an attorney. And the reason for settling on the courthouse steps is because the risk of loss shifts at that very moment. It is going to sound weird, but the risk of loss is shifting from the client to the attorney. And I'll explain that up until you go into trial, what defense counsel has done has melted the clock. They've made as much money as
100%, man.
Great.
100%. The money is in trial prep. The money's not in the trial. It's in the prep. Totally.
Right. So now going to trial, the attorney risks their reputation, because if they lose the trial, they're not going to get that much more money by going to trial.
Yep.
If they can guarantee they receive their fee in a settlement, whereas if you go to trial like you experience, now, even if you get a judgment, and then you got a whole different thing about collection, but it's the risk of loss for the defense counsel has changed from the client. Now the risk of loss is on the attorney, and that's why the attorneys all of a sudden push their clients to settle.
So I'm going to just kind of leave you with this thought about negotiating. Okay, it's one of my little phrases that I like, and it goes like this. Amateurs wing it, professionals practice. Okay, there's a great irony about negotiating in the business marketplace, and especially in the real estate marketplace, because we're supposed to be doing this all the time, but rarely do we practice. Rarely do we go to a class. Rarely do we have the humility to sit there for an hour like you guys have and said, you know what, I need to get better at this. This matters to me. I'm going to show up. So thank you for showing up, as always. But I think this negotiation thing, it's really important that we stay practiced on it. Okay, so we'll do this again. All right? I never thought I'd say this, but hopefully it's raining where you are, because we sure need it in the West. All right, guys, have a good weekend. And don't forget, doesitpencil.com/webinar. Give me about a week, and I'll get this one put up. But all the previous ones are edited from this year, and they're up there. So share the love, and good luck, and God bless you, and I'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.
Me out of that one.
No.